Rukpli Incursion 3 by Matt Edsand. Narrated by Matt Edsand. Chapter 1 Grange Forest, Helios. Captain Grisham peeked from behind the tree. No movement caught his attention. That didn't mean a thing. Lieutenant Tyler was beside him. The young blond man looked a bit nervous, gripping his weapon. The forest around the settlement on Helios was dense. It had different colored trees with bioluminescent barks. Even the foliage on the ground had a variety of colors. All of it left Grisham in awe, while at the same time providing the perfect cover for them. One thing he was sure of was this: Helios was so far away from the mining colony they had traveled from. "Sir, are we sure an alien creature will come this way?" Lieutenant Tyler asked. Grisham pointed to the mountains surrounding the other three sides of settlement H1. It would be much harder for anyone to come across the mountains. Grange Forest, which was the largest one on Helios, bordered one side of the settlement. "This is the only logical way into the settlement," Grisham replied. "If the Rukpli want to unleash their terror here, this would be it." The UFS Dauntlet had arrived at Helios, the second largest human colony in the Vonier system, 2 days ago. With the arrival, Grisham had put his plan in motion. Ever since Grisham had encountered the alien creature who had pleaded with him for help, he had set his mind on one thing: capture an alien creature. At least one. En route to Helios, Grisham had briefed Admiral Sheldon on his proposed plan. At first, Sheldon had scoffed at the proposal. However, Grisham hadn't given up and explained the reasoning for the plan. Eventually, Sheldon had given him permission to execute the plan. There was also the fact that Sheldon had no alternative plan to stop the threat. Sheldon had even told Grisham that General Williams was still struggling to come to terms with the attacks on the colonies. Surprisingly, Commander Lopez had been agreeable from the start with Grisham heading down to the planet's surface. Part of it had to do with the fact that the Marine unit on the surface would provide the necessary protection. It also helped that Lopez had realized the menace of the growing threat. Something had to be done. People couldn't wait for the Rukpli and alien creatures to attack again. People are dying. So many had already died inside the mine on Black Meridian. Grisham flicked his eyes about. 2 soldiers from the Marine unit were behind him. They had been assigned to watch his rear. No one wanted to be surprised by the alien creature. "But why would the Rukpli pick this planet?" Tyler asked. "Helios is the second largest human colony. It makes sense that the Rukpli would try to unleash those creatures on a larger human settlement." Grisham chose not to say that the Rukpli would probably increase the scale of their assault. If New Caledonia and Black Meridian had been an indicator, the number of alien creatures unleashed would increase. How many? It was anyone's guess. Grisham couldn't predict it. Even then, he had asked his XO to keep watching the sensors. The Rukpli and their cloaked vessels had been clever in staying away from Grisham's vessel. Yet it did make sense. Once the Rukpli realized that the UFS had a way to detect them, they must have chosen to be more deliberate on their incursions onto the human colonies. Grisham opened a private comms with his XO. "Commander?" "Yes, Captain," Lopez said. "Anything on the scans?" Grisham had ordered his XO to run anomaly scans around the clock. If the Rukpli were going to attack Helios on a larger scale, they would need multiple vessels to land on the planet. One shuttle wouldn't be sufficient. "Nothing yet, sir," Lopez reported. Grisham grimaced. He had been certain that multiple Rukpli shuttles would head to the surface. He looked back at the trap they had set. With the local Marine unit, they had prepared a large tarp both in the air and on the ground to catch the alien creature. Several smoke grenades and other weapons had also been deployed to force the alien creature to go down a certain path in the forest leading it to the tarp. "Keep me updated," Grisham said and closed the comms. He checked his device. They had been waiting for a few hours now. It was midday already on Helios. Based on his estimates, the alien creature should come at any moment. Grisham was risking a lot on this trap. What if the Rukpli chose to skip Helios? Then all the preparation would have been for nothing, and Grisham could expect a rebuke from Admiral Sheldon. Grisham tried not to linger on those thoughts. They weren't helpful. Tyler turned to him. "Did you hear that?" Grisham's body stiffened. He heard it. It was faint, but it was there. The clicking sound of an alien claw. Chapter 2, Settlement H1, Helios. Marine Captain Milford looked through the scope at the trap set for the alien creature. He would be the first to admit that this wasn't where he had planned to be on this sunny day. Typically, he would be making the rounds around Settlement H1, checking the perimeter with one of his men or women. But everything had changed the moment he had received the comms from Captain Grisham. The captain had proposed an incredible sounding plan to capture an alien creature. Despite there being no presence of any Rukpli or alien creature on Helios. However, Milford was no fool. He had read the incident reports from New Caledonia and Black Meridian. The latter one had been particularly bad. 4 alien creatures. That was how many had been unleashed on Black Meridian, and the population of that planet was 1/4 of that of Helios. Ever since the second attack, the Euphra Defense Forces had raised the alert level to the highest across all the human colonies in the 1-year system. There was no doubt in anyone's mind that the threat was growing. Many of the locals had approached Milford and questioned their defenses. Milford had done his best to reassure the locals. Fortunately, Helios had more resources than Black Meridian. Several marine units were stationed around the settlement. Helios had a lot of factories that produced all sorts of items. Many of the factories were run by humans and robots, and lots of vessels transported goods to Euphra and the other smaller colonies. Milford turned to Joseph, the male Rebinto who had been assigned to him. It had been part of Admiral Sheldon's idea to get the Rebinto species to help them. General Williams had also sent a transmission to Milford explaining the need to get the male Rebinto's help. "What do you think?" Milford asked. Joseph looked at him. "I believe the alien creature will come. It makes sense that this planet would also be targeted." "I understand your species has enhanced abilities," Milford said. Joseph nodded. "We have multiple abilities that can help you. Hearing is one of them." Milford had heard of the enhanced hearing ability. It had saved Captain Stanley's life on board Armstrong Station. Nonetheless, Milford knew he would need time to adjust to Joseph's presence. Milford had never before worked with an alien species. This was a first for him. "I understand that my presence here may be uncomfortable for you," Joseph admitted, "especially in the light of the Rukpli attacks. But I'm here to help you. My kind were enslaved for too long by the Rukpli." Milford nodded. The male Rebinto was surprising him in a good way. "I still don't understand why I was deployed here with you instead of with Captain Grisham in the forest," Joseph said. At first, Milford had also questioned Captain Grisham on it. Once Grisham had explained his strategy, Milford had fallen in line with it. "You're the backup in case the original trap fails," Milford explained. Joseph cocked his head. "Backup? I mean that if the alien creature gets through the tarp, then we'll need your help to bring it down. I understand now my purpose here. If such a situation arises, I will do as you have stated." There was no fear in Joseph's voice. The male Rebinto just accepted the assignment without any issue. Milford suspected it probably had to do with the Rebinto species' enslavement for years under the Rukpli. Such enslavement was something Milford could not even imagine. While back on Earth, Milford had heard stories of nations invading other nations and bringing them under their control. However, Milford had personally never experienced it, and he had no plans to experience it under the Rukpli. Milford and his unit was one of many units that protected Helios, but his one had been the first one deployed to this planet as it began to grow rapidly as a manufacturing colony. Every month, Milford heard of a new factory being established or an existing one expanding its capacity. Helios was experiencing a boom in manufacturing. Despite that, the attacks on New Caledonia and Black Meridian had cast a shadow on everything. The factory owners had begun enhancing their own security protocols for their premises. There was no way for the marine units to provide security for the factories, simply because there were too many of them. A few residents had chosen to leave Helios and head to Euphra. Those people felt they would be more safe in Euphra, but that was the wrong thinking. With the new Rukpli threat, nowhere in the human colonies was safe. "I hear something," Joseph announced. "What?" "It's a single creature," Joseph replied. "I can hear the clicking of his claws." Milford had hoped he wouldn't need to face the alien creatures. It had been a long shot, but he had been hoping. But that was all over now. The alien creature had been unleashed on Helios, and he would need to face it. Chapter 3, Grange Forest Helios. Grisham grimaced. Do you have a visual on it? Not yet, sir, Tyler replied. Grisham opened a comms with Captain Milford. Captain? Yes, we heard it too, Milford said. You heard it? Grisham stammered. Josic heard it, Milford clarified. Grisham nodded. The enhanced hearing of the Rebinto was in play. He appreciated the fact that the Rebinto species had sent Josic to them. Grisham had heard that the help had been deployed instantly without any question. He suspected the Rebinto species knew well enough the threat of the Rukpli. No one wanted to see the Rukpli back here in the Vanya system again. However, it was out of everyone's control. Stay alert in case we need to be activated, Grisham said and ended the comms. Tyler turned to him. I still don't understand how the Rebinto species can hear so well. Grisham shrugged. It's a mystery. Ever since the Rebinto species had been assigned to a city on Euphra, they had been thriving. Reports came once in a while that some humans had even visited the Rebinto city with the goal of understanding them better. That was a good start for humanity and the Rebinto species. I got a visual, sir, Tyler admitted softly. On your right. Grisham turned his gaze and spotted the thin creature walking slowly towards the settlement. Grisham opened a comms with his XO, Commander Lopez. Do you have it on your sensors? Yes, Captain, Lopez replied. We just picked it up. Any anomalies? None, sir. Update us if there are any more alien creatures, Grisham said and ended the comms. Now what, sir? Tyler asked. Be ready on my orders to release the grenades. Tyler pulled out his device and waited. The young lieutenant was excited. Grisham could see it in his eyes. But Tyler had never had a close encounter with the alien creature. Grisham still recalled with a shudder how one of those alien creatures had tried to break the view screen into his crashed shuttle. If it had been successful, Grisham would not even be here. I think it's picking up its pace, Tyler observed. Grisham watched as the alien creature came into full view. The alien creature wasn't carrying any weapons, but the sound of its claws kept sending shivers down Grisham's spine. On my count, Grisham muttered. As the alien creature stepped near the edge of the trap, it stopped. What's it doing? Tyler asked. Grisham shook his head. The alien creature turned its head from the left to the right. Something had spooked it. Does it know of the trap? Tyler asked. Grisham motioned to him to remain quiet. His eyes remained on the alien creature. Release the smoke grenades now, Grisham whispered. Tyler pressed on the device and 2 clicking sounds later, smoke began to appear from the left and the right sides. The alien creature jumped backwards, glancing around. That was what Grisham had wanted the alien creature to do. Fire up the weapons, Grisham said. Tyler's fingers danced on his device and weapons fire interrupted the quietness in the forest. The alien creature didn't hesitate. It jumped away and began racing down the path to the trap. Grisham smiled. His plan was working perfectly. But then, the alien creature leaped into the air. Grisham's eyes widened. What was the alien creature doing? Whoa, Tyler mumbled. It knows there's a trap. Grisham reluctantly offered a nod. The alien creature's leap took it over the top. Landing on the ground after the top, it rolled onto the ground and stopped moving. Grisham tightened his jaw. The trap had failed. But there was a backup plan. It was now Milford's turn with the Rebinto. Chapter 4, Settlement H1, Helios. Marine Captain Milford got the comms from Captain Grisham. The original plan to capture the alien creature had failed. Milford didn't know the details, but he didn't have to. The backup plan was now activated. He turned to Josic. The alien creature avoided the trap. How? Josic asked. Milford shrugged. It doesn't matter. We need to do our part now. Josic gave a single nod. The Rebinto took a step forward and got ready. Milford wasn't sure what the Rebinto could do, but he expected him to capture the alien creature. That seemed like a tall order. Then again, it was an alien species against another alien species. I got a visual of the alien creature emerging from the forest. Before Milford even finished his sentence, Josic took off. The Rebinto sprinted towards the alien creature. Milford broke into a run, but Josic was far ahead of him. He's fast, Milford muttered under his breath. It took the alien creature a few more seconds to detect the male Rebinto. The alien creature pounced on its chest as it raced towards Josic. Milford pulled out his weapon ready to fire if things went out of control. Behind the alien creature in the distance, he spotted Captain Grisham and the rest running towards them. Grisham had given Josic clear instruction that he wanted the creature alive. A dead alien creature would be a failure. Josic increased his speed, stunning Milford. The Rebinto enhanced speed was incredible to watch. Josic closed in on the alien creature. The alien creature tried to dodge the male Rebinto, but it failed. Josic tackled the alien creature, bringing it down with a thud. Then the fight began. Alien creature and Josic started exchanging blows. Each blow was furious, but seemed to have no effect on Josic. The alien creature howled and opened its mouth, but Josic was fast to clamp it down. The sheer power of the male Rebinto was another thing that caught Milford by surprise. By now, Grisham and the rest were surrounding the two alien creatures as they rolled on the ground. Milford leveled his weapon, but Grisham motioned for him to stay away. Milford acknowledged and lowered his weapon. As the exchange of blows continued, the alien creature began to hesitate. The punches by the Rebinto were having an effect. Then the alien creature slumped backwards to the ground. "He's not dead, right?" Grisham asked. Josic got to his feet and wiped the dust off his uniform. "Just knocked out. We need to restrain him quickly." "Inject him now," Grisham ordered. Lieutenant Tyler jumped in, pulling out an injector. "I'll hold him down," Josic said, kneeling beside the alien creature. Tyler then placed the injector against the alien creature's neck and pressed on it. A few seconds later, Tyler stood. "It's done." Milford looked at Grisham. "Will that be enough?" Josic nodded. "It should be more than enough. We tested it on our kind and it can knock us out for an hour." Josic then restrained the alien creature's mouth by placing a metal clamp over it. Milford motioned to his men and they began dragging the alien creature. It took 3 soldiers to pick up the alien creature. Josic came over and helped them. A little later, Milford stood outside the prison cell. The alien creature had been safely transported into one of the cells with a force field. Under Captain Grisham's instructions, the prison cell had been modified to hold the alien creature. They were about to test the strength of the prison cell. Chapter 5. Prison Building Settlement H1. Captain Grisham stood outside the prison cell. They had been able to capture an alien creature. Grisham hadn't been so sure once the alien creature had avoided the initial trap. But the male Rebinto had done his part in the plan. Milford and Josic stood beside him. Grisham turned to Josic. "Have you ever seen such an alien creature?" "There are many alien species in the Vanya system, but this one I haven't encountered before," Josic replied. The casual way Josic talked about the multiple alien species in the Vanya system sent a shiver down Grisham's spine. Maybe humanity's decision to choose the Vanya system had been a mistake. But it was now too late to reverse course. Humanity already invested over 50 years in this system. They needed to learn to live with other species. Just like with the Rebinto. Running away was no longer an option. Humanity's attempt with the one vessel to another planet had failed and the loss had been great. All because of the Rukpli. However, this alien creature was stronger than I expected, Josic mused. "I think it has been injected with enhancements." Grisham gave a signal nod. He still recalled the words of the other alien creature in the forest on Black Meridian. Something had been done to this alien creature to transform it into a beast, bent on death and destruction. The Rukpli had been the ones who had done it, but that was all Grisham knew. "We need to wake it up," Grisham admitted. Milford pulled out another injector from his pocket. "I have the other injector." "Do it," Grisham ordered. Milford pressed on the panel, and the force field at the front of the prison cell flickered and disappeared. Milford marched in and pressed the injector into the alien creature. He then stepped back out and activated the force field. "How long will it take?" Grisham asked. Milford shrugged. "The injector has never been used on an alien creature." Grisham stared at the alien creature. Not knowing how long it might take was an issue, but the silence in the air was disturbed by a groan. It was coming from the alien creature inside the prison cell. "Looks like it's coming around," Milford said. Grisham squinted his eyes and crossed his arms. A few more seconds passed. The right leg of the alien creature twitched once, then twice. The left leg moved briefly. The alien creature lifted its head and stared at them. Its eyes studied them without saying a word. It opened its mouth and a howl pierced the prison cell. Grisham stood his ground without letting the alien creature intimidate them. Milford was about to say something when Grisham grabbed him by the shoulder. The alien creature shifted its eyes from Grisham to Milford to Josic and back to Grisham. Grisham took a small step forward. Who are you? There was a subtle shift in the alien creature's jaw, if that could even be called a jaw. It opened its mouth, showing its white glistening teeth. What's the name of your species? Grisham demanded. Why do you want to know? The alien creature scowled. It then got to its feet and began looking around the prison cell. You are a prisoner, Grisham stated. How did I get here? The alien creature asked. It doesn't matter, Grisham replied. The alien creature jabbed a finger at Joseph. Aren't you a Rebinto? Joseph jerked his head back. How do you know our species? The alien creature ignored him. You cannot hold me here. We will destroy this settlement. Grisham's eyes widened. How many more of you are buried here? The alien creature's expression displayed a brief look of surprise before it snickered. It won't matter. Grisham turned to Milford, who got the message and left the prison building. Milford needed to activate his units to be on high alert. Grisham typed in an urgent comms to Commander Lopez in orbit. We want to help you, Grisham offered. The alien creature scoffed. Why would you want to help someone who's going to kill your kind, human? How do you know about us? Grisham asked. Our masters told us about you, the alien creature replied in a hoarse voice. I know your masters are the Rukpli, and I also know you're not here by choice, Grisham revealed. The alien creature blinked. Once, slowly. How? Grisham pulled out his device and clicked on it. A hollow projection appeared of the dead alien creature in the forest. Look, this is one of your kind. It asked me to find the rest and help them. It told me that your species was like us before the Rukpli did something to you. The alien creature beat its chest and whimpered. You found Metra. He was my brother. Chapter 6, Bridge, UFS Dauntless. Commander, I'm picking up multiple anomalies ahead of us, the sensor officer replied. Lopez leaned forward in the captain's chair. Bring them up on the view screen. 2 trails of red dots began to appear. Both trails were heading to a single destination, Helios. Fire on them, Lopez ordered. There was no point waiting around. Those were Rukpli vessels and they were heading to the surface. Whether it was to unleash more alien creatures or something worse, Lopez didn't have the time to check in with the captain. Firing now, the tactical officer yelled. Contrails of missiles shot out towards the darkness of space. It felt strange firing on nothing, but everyone on the bridge knew it wasn't nothing. The enemy was out there. 2 bright lights appeared on the view screen. One of the red dots stopped moving, the sensor officer reported. What about the other one? Lopez asked. Lopez had to presume their missiles had breached one of the Rukpli vessels that had been heading to the surface. It's still moving, the sensor officer reported. Fire again, Lopez ordered. Another pair of missiles shot out of the UFS Dauntless. The sensor officer turned to Lopez. The missiles missed their target. I think the Rukpli vessel took countermeasures. Lopez grimaced. Where is it now? I think it's on the way down to the surface, the sensor officer reported. Lopez slammed his fist on the side of the chair. He had let one of those Rukpli vessels through. He would need to inform Captain Grisham. Chapter 7, Prison Building, Settlement H1. Your brother? Grisham asked, still reeling from the alien creature's change in countenance. Grisham had expected a reaction from the alien creature, but not this one. We are the Clinto species, the alien creature announced. My name is Kliptar. Joseph snapped his fingers. We fought the Clinto species years ago. Kliptar nodded. And we withdrew after we couldn't defeat your species. Joseph growled. Where is your homeworld? Grisham asked. On the other end of the Vonnier system that borders the Diastro system, Kliptar replied. Is my brother dead? I'm sorry, but he is dead. But before he died, he asked me to help the Clinto, Grisham replied gently. That's just like my brother, Kliptar said with a sigh. He always looked for the good in a situation. Grisham realized they didn't have much time. What did the Rukpli do to you? Years ago, they captured a lot of my kind, Kliptar explained. Then they herded us into a prison planet where they ran experiments on us. The experiments were to bring us under total control. After they did that, they injected us with things I don't know. All I know is that they enhanced our abilities. Then, they took us one by one and buried us in their chambers and put us in a stasis mode. How long have you been buried in a chamber? Joseph asked. It's hard to say, Klipta replied. Maybe tens of years. Once you're inside, in stasis, you lose track of time. Grisham gasped, struggling to control his emotions. The Rukpli were monsters. They had created chambers and transformed the Clinto species to become their own beasts. Once the chamber is open, we come out of stasis, Klipta said. I don't know how it works, but then another enhancement kicks in that makes us want to kill and destroy any humanoid species. At that point, we lose self-control. But I'm amazed my brother was able to tell you something. When you mean humanoid, any living thing on the planet, right? Grisham asked. Klipta offered a reluctant nod. But why are you able to fight off the enhancements? Josik asked. Klipta shrugged. I wish I knew. Something has changed in me. How many more of you are here? Grisham asked. I'm not sure because we aren't told this, but I would guess maybe 6 more, Klipta replied. Grisham immediately sent a message to Milford. 7 alien creatures was the largest number in a single colony. The Marine unit and the other units would have their hands full. His device buzzed and Grisham stepped aside. Lopez, what is it? His XO updated him on the vessel approaching the planet's surface and what had transpired. Grisham listened and ended the comms. What happened? Josik asked. We have an incoming Rukpli vessel, Grisham admitted. Klipta sighed. The Rukpli are coming for me. Grisham shook his head. I doubt it. They are probably on the way to release more of your kind. Klipta shook his head. You don't understand the Rukpli. They warned us not to tell the humanoids the truth. They said they would come and kill us if we spoke to anyone. Grisham exchanged a look with Josik, who shrugged. Okay, I'm going to let you out. Klipta smiled. Thank you for giving me a chance. Now let me tell you how to find the other chambers. Chapter 8, Settlement H1 Helios. If you want to find the rest of my kind buried across the colonies, you need to find the core map, Klipta explained. What's that? Grisham asked as he deactivated the force field. Klipta walked out and stretched his thin body. All I know is that the core map shows the locations of the buried chambers throughout the one-year system. Josik seemed unconvinced. How do you know of the core map? The Rukpli commander boasted about it in front of us, Klipta said. This was right after we had been transformed into what you see today and before they took us one by one to our chambers. I doubt the core map would be easily available to us, Josik interjected. It's probably in the Rukpli homeworld. Klipta shook his head. I believe every Rukpli vessel has a copy of the core map. That means you, Josik cut in. We need to catch a Rukpli vessel. Is there any other way to detect the chambers on a planet? Grisham asked. There were hundreds of planets in the one-year system. The chances of finding a planet with the core map was minimal. It could take years or never happen. But catching a Rukpli vessel was more likely to occur. Klipta paused for a long moment. There is one other way. Which is, Josik asked. You can modify your vessel's sensors to find it based on our DNA, Klipta said. What's so special in your DNA? Josik asked. I believe the enhancements do cause a change that's unique, Klipta said. One of the others who was trapped with me was a doctor. He apparently saw what the Rukpli were doing in the experiments on us. This doctor is the one who told me about it. I had forgotten about it until now. Grisham nodded. It was worth a try, but he would need to figure it out when he was back on board the UFS Dauntless. Now they needed to get Klipta to safety. Come on, Grisham said. He paused at the front door, gently opened it and peered outside. He then withdrew and closed the door. Josik must have sensed the fear in Grisham's expression. What is it? There's a vessel outside, Grisham whispered. What kind of vessel? Josik asked. Let me look, Klipta said. Before Grisham could stop the male Clinto, he briskly walked towards the door and opened it gently. Klipta closed the door and turned to him. That vessel should have a copy of the core map. If we can get to it, I can find the core map for you. It's too dangerous, Grisham said. My priority is to get you out of here. It looks like they have come for you. Klipta offered a reluctant nod. Grisham understood the male Clinto wanted to help humanity, but not this way. The risks were too high. Grisham had assumed wrongly that the Rukpli vessel had landed to unleash more Clinto species. It had come for Klipta. That meant one thing. The Rukpli didn't want Klipta escaping from his duty. Grisham jabbed a finger down a corridor leading to the back of the building. This way. At the same time, weapons fire erupted outside the building. The Rukpli had found them. Chapter 9. Settlement H1 Helios. Run, Grisham hollered. They bolted down the corridor, the sound of their boots echoing around them. The corridor opened into a small room. At the other end of the room was a metal door. That was their way out. An explosion ripped behind them, shaking the ground beneath their boots. The Rukpli were relentless in getting to Klipta. Grisham motioned to Josik, who raced to the door and kicked it once. The door broke open at the hinges and fell outwards. Grisham burst through the remaining bits of the door and rushed outside. Beyond them was a road and prefabricated homes. Grisham bit his lip. He didn't want to bring the Rukpli to the heavily populated parts of the settlement. Innocent people would get caught in the crossfire. Klipta grabbed him by the shoulder. "Do you have an injector?" Grisham nodded. "We can do this. Give it to me now," Klipta ordered. Grisham pulled it out reluctantly and passed it to the male Clinto. Klipta injected it to his right arm as they all dove to the side to avoid the incoming weapons fire. Grisham rolled along and threw a smoke grenade into the building. That should slow the Rukpli down. Klipta pulled the injector out and passed it to Grisham. "This should help you find my kind." "You're coming with us," Grisham said. "They're coming after me, and I don't want to take this fight into your people's homes," Klipta interjected. "They have suffered enough." Grisham opened the comms with Milford. "We're under fire. Need reinforcements now." Milford acknowledged him as Josik led them to the left of the building. No one wanted to head towards the homes. Grisham caught glimpses of people cowering behind their windows. He frantically waved at them to get away from the windows. It was too dangerous to be beside the windows. Weapons fire roared over his head. "Take cover," Josik announced. Streaks of weapons fire hit all around him as Grisham rolled onto the ground and returned fire. There were more Rukpli coming from the side of the building. "Where are those reinforcements?" Josik demanded, exasperation dripping from his voice. Grisham grimaced. Weapons fire was coming at them from multiple directions. Then Klipta turned to him. "I can stop this. Your people don't need to get hurt." Grisham got the implication. "We are getting you off this planet." "Not this time, but maybe for someone else," Klipta said. Before Grisham could try to stop Klipta, the male Clinto then jumped in the line of fire and began running towards the two Rukpli who had emerged from the building. Grisham watched in horror as Klipta took shots to his arms but kept barreling at the Rukpli. As he was about to reach them, he howled and collapsed to the ground. He was dead. Weapons fire came against the Rukpli as Milford and his soldiers poured into the vicinity. The Rukpli began withdrawing and soon disappeared. Grisham sighed as he got to his feet and walked over to Klipta's dead body. "What happened?" Milford asked. Grisham shook his head in dismay. Chapter 10, Captain's Ready Room, UFS Dauntless. Grisham drummed his fingers on his desk. Lopez sat in front of him and had just finished reading the report. "Captain, the report is," Lopez started. "I know. It had been a hard report to write and submit to Admiral Sheldon, but Grisham had trudged through it. Klipta's sacrifice for humanity had turned everything upside down. The Clinto species was just another species destroyed from the inside out by the Rukpli, just like the Rebinto." "What did the Admiral say?" Lopez asked. "He was as equally stunned as you are," Grisham said with a sigh. Grisham would ensure no one would forget about Klipta and his brother. His sacrifice reminded something Grisham had read about the Rebinto species from Captain Stanley's reports. "How is the DNA being used?" Grisham asked. "Chief Medical Officer Tyrell has studied the DNA and identified some unique patterns that he says we can use to fine-tune our senses." "So, Klipta was right." "I believe so," Lopez said reluctantly. "Get the sensors fine-tuned." Lopez offered a nod. "What about Helios?" Surprisingly, no other Clinto species had been released by the Rukpli. Nonetheless, 6 empty chambers had been discovered on the outskirts of the settlement. "There's nothing for the colony to worry about," Grisham replied. "I believe the Rukpli took the Clinto they had buried here with them. I doubt they will unleash anything here again." Lopez cocked his head. "Why?" Grisham shrugged. "I believe that once Klipta started talking to us, the Rukpli realized there was a problem in their control of the Clinto species. That's why they were adamant to kill Klipta. Despite that, the male Clinto's body had been brought aboard the UFS Dauntless for further study. "I'll get the sensors ready for the next stop," Lopez said, as he stood and left the room. Grisham clenched his jaw. This fight with the new Rukpli menace wasn't over, not by a long shot. He would find the remaining Clinto species and free them all. Maybe that would put a stop to the Rukpli attacks. The end.